Working with Ableton and selling your soul. I guess that... Okay, it's April 1st. I had to make that joke. Creating killer synth bass lines. I guess that's today's video. Let's go do it right now. Hey yo, what's up? I'm Analog Kitchen and thank you for checking out yet another video. If this is your first time here, thanks for joining. Don't hesitate to click subscribe, hit that notification bell. Whenever I upload a new video, you'll be kept in the loop and you won't miss out on anything. Stay tuned till the end of this video. I'll tell you all about the new channel memberships, about Patreon, about Discord and all that yummy good stuff. So, it's been a while since I did a bassline video. There's new synthesizers in place, so I thought I'd just like do something on my basslines. I mean, it's a thing that I think that is one of the most important things in my music, especially in the dollars realm. I'd like to just like come out with basslines that work. One of the most famous synth basslines I can think of comes to mind is Giorgio Moroder's I Feel Love, right? I mean, if you're talking about synth basslines, that will do the trick. Synth bass lines on My Mind Hypnotic Tango, for instance. Synth bass lines on Yazoo Situation. Synth bass lines on Adamski Killer. I mean, those tracks are amazing. Synth bass lines on Daft Punk, Around the World. Come on, you know, I can go on and on. Most of those bass lines stem from a different style of music. So you got the disco influence. If you look at Around the World, Daft Punk, then obviously that is a disco kind of driving groove. Very much inspired by the bass players of the late 70s playing that kind of vibe. Then in the early 80s, bands like Erasure or Depeche Mode, I should say, they came up, and Vince Clarke is an avid synth producer, obviously. I mean, he's done Erasure, he's done Yazoo, he's done I Just Can't Get Enough for Depeche Mode. So when you're listening to those types of bass lines, you can understand how this now has got that robotic sort of like synth-driven, synth-pop kind of vibe. Now, when you're talking about synth bass lines, in this video, I'd like to just like show you two different examples, because you've got the long extended bass line that most of us are using in melodic techno right now. And then the subsequent 37 comes to mind. But for the short, blocky kind of maybe 80s vibe type style bass line, I would like to resort to the Typhon. And that's an amazing machine, which I do not know anything about, as I just unboxed it and I'm literally just like dipping my toes in the water. But I mean, it looks like it might actually just have a place on my setup. And of course, I can go completely crazy with acid and go about the 303, but today it's not so much about acid as well. But that I at least needed to mention, that as well is a sort of like synth bassline kind of vibe. Whole genres have, erupted from that one machine. So I just wanted at least mention it to you that exists as well. Not today's video though. Today I just would like to get into, how you can get bass lines going and that are really cool, that work. Because my philosophy is this: if you got cool beats, and this is something I found out later in my career, if you got cool beats and one dominant sound, you don't really need anything else. Now this is of course great news for the dollars community, because it means you don't have to spend a whole lot of money on ample synths. Okay, we have gas, we still want to have a lot of gear. Did you see that Dirty Wave Mate tracker? Okay, I'm gassing for some. But anyway, digressing. But there's so much cool gear out there right now, and you can get to that point quickly. Now, the Ableton Brigade might debate, well, you know what, I can do that same thing within my computer and blah, and of course it is possible. But when you work in the dollars realm, the whole sound design and the texture and the character of the sound does something else. So I'm talking to you dollars cats out there. Some cool drums and some kick-ass analog bass line will probably get you there. And most of those 80s tracks were just that, right? So listening to, again, Yazoo Situation, those are multiple bass lines stacked on top of each other. If you play a bass line in an arpeggio fashion, you will not necessarily recognize it as a bass line, but hey, it does the trick, right? And I don't have to tell you how dominant those synths were. I mean, I can go on and on with 80s examples. I'll just leave them with 2. If you got more tracks that you'd like to mention, just leave them in the comment section below. I'd love to see them, obviously. Today, let's just get into how I work something of an old school approach into a modern day vibe. This track is going to be something that is very current. It's going to be one of my new tracks in my new live set that I'm going to perform in a few weeks when I'm playing this festival that I'm doing in The Hague. I'm so looking forward to that. That's going to be like amazing. So it's going to also be the first time taking this setup out on the road, so you can imagine that I am stoked. So I wanted to have ample possibilities and opportunity to play those bass lines, do the classic long padded bass that's very characteristic for the sound that I'm doing, but also get those short bass notes that can either mask themselves as an arpeggio or mask themselves, I'm hitting the mic here, and mask themselves as a blocky sort of like deep bass line. Now what it's going to turn out, I don't know. Let's just go there and let's see if we can make it work. The track I've been working on a little bit, it stems out of the track that I did last week, so it's a new sort of like twist on things. So if the beat sounds familiar, then you know where they're coming from. All right, are you ready? Let's go and get it. Yeah, let's go. This is the live setup, and I can hear people go like, oh no, here he goes again. No, Strymon Blue Sky connected to the subsequent 37. Okay, this is bass and leads right here. You have to understand that this is my band and my electronic orchestra, so to speak, and so every band member needs to do a task, right? So subsequent leads, bass. Then for pads, arpeggios, I've got the OB6. I have not designed any sounds on it yet, which is also because I literally just got it the other day, so that's coming. The heart of the operation is the Octatrack Mark II Black Edition. The TB03 is only here for cosmetics today. It works, but it's not going to make an appearance today. But you know what? Bass lines also, it needs to be present, so it's here, right? So, and then a new addition is the Typhon. Again, I'm not sure on the nitty-gritty of this machine, as I literally just picked it out of the box, but I wanted to at least get that going. So on my MIDI channel 5, or no, on track 5 here, woo, sweet, nice and dandy. So how do I set up my tracks then in a sort of like DAWless fashion, you might ask? I'm so glad you did. Now on track 1, I've got the kick drum, obviously. So we're going to go to the audio side of things. The Octatrack is split in half, as you know. So the red buttons are all audio channels. The yellow ones are all the MIDI channels. And then this is how I set it up. Now what I've done is kick on 1. Very important. The kick is always going to be 2 to 3 dBs louder than the rest of the music. So I know that whenever I get to a club, a festival, I'm there giving the sound tech enough to work with. Yeah, if everything is congested, which is what sometimes happens, I mean, you would see that you would start to fiddle about with your levels, and it will change over the course of your performance. So another thing to do is to save this as it is and work another live set, copy it to another project, and then work it there, because if things change and you start to add stuff, sometimes you don't want to muck about with your initial starting point. So that's that. Right. Track 2. I've only got 4 tracks this side of my audio channels on the Octatrack. Track 1, 2, 3, and 4 dedicated to drums. Second track is the closed hi-hat. That's only going to be on a 16. So when you see all my tricks, and I'm only on the first measure, so I'm not going to use 64 steps. I'm only going to use 16 steps for this. Yeah. So if this was off, you can hear. I'm so lying. This is so programmed all over the place. Anyway, so, but do I need it? No, I don't. So what I'm going to do is function, put it on 16. So there you go. In terms of consistency. Get it out. Put it in record. Yep, 16 steps, right? Okay, cool. Okay, out of record mode. The third one is a nice clap with a short delay on it. I need a little bit of that sort of like crazy iffy stuff that you don't really you don't want to cut it off, because when you're using only 4 tracks for drums, it's cool to have a little bit of noise or debris hanging around your sample. So it's not even really in time, but it does the trick. On track 4, I have my trusty 909 short hat. I've got a 909 sitting in the cupboard right there. I've sampled the hat, and then you can hear that this is... Am I way too loud? I might be way too loud. Let me turn my mic down a little bit. I'm not sure, but just don't want to over... Yeah, okay, this should be loud enough. So, the hat, yeah? So everything together sounds like... Now, a little bit of explanation. The kick drum here, put it in solo, plays with a conditional trick. So it's playing 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4, 4. Now it plays the bum, bum, bum. But on this pass, it's not going to play track 15. See, boom. See, it skipped it. So I put it on a 50% probability. So it's only going to play half of the time, like 1, 2, 3. Here it is. So then you can extend your range within the octa tracks. Very nice, conditional tricks. Now, track 5 is always going to be a sample. And that sample is coming out of my sample and hold Catalyst pack. Why am I using that kind of vibe? Because I want to flirt with the outside world. Just using synths means I will be in that just can't get enough Depeche Mode kind of vibe, which is cool, but it sounds very synthy. And for today's music, I think you need to be at least a little bit current or relevant, so I'm using a sample. Now that this sample is twofold. When I'm using it, listen to this. And when I'm using the filter on it, now it starts to behave like a crazy person, drunk. But in the beats, it sounds absolutely amazing. It's like it's a rotary speaker flying around your head, right? Okay, now that's my sample on 5. Track 6 is my first through machine. So that's the first through machine. And that through machine is, let's see, dedicated to A and B, which means it's going to house the OB6. If you want external audio to go through the octatrack, you need to sacrifice a few channels for that. In my case, 2 channels, because also the subsequent is going to go into this machine. So the 4 inputs that I have right now, input A and B is on my track 7 actually, yeah, and track 6 is input C. No, sorry, input C and D is input C and D. Why is it C and D? All right, I understand. Yeah, so A and B, it's my OB6, and then that is being routed through 7 and 8. If I turn these on or off, you will hear the synths or will not hear the synths. Then again, there's another way to turn them on and off. Sometimes it's better to turn the MIDI off, because then if you got a long extended note, it will just like linger on and play on because it doesn't get any more MIDI information. Turning this off, it means turning the audio off. So if you've got a long sustained pad at the end of your bar and you turn this off, boom, it just literally turns the volume off and on. So this is a trick that you can do if you want to make a transition and you've got like a long release or your sound. You can just like turn off the MIDI and it will not get new MIDI information, but it will still let that sound die out, and that's very important. Sometimes it can work out. Now I've got my nothing playing at the minute, kick drum right now. So as a idea, I would like to start from a from a sample, like I told you. So now what I've done with the OB6 is that I want the OB6 to play a theme, a more kind of a stabby kind of vibe. So what I've done is, let me play it to you. Kick out, 1, 2, 3, go. I'll play it to you. Very inconsistent when it comes to note lengths, obviously, but I've already got my 4 chords. You know what I mean? So it does something already. I love it. Filters. The delay, mind you, is coming from the Octatrack. The delay is not coming from the OB6. I can use the delay on the OB6 because I got one here, so I'll turn it on. But that's for later on if I want to make a drop and I want to just like introduce a new sound. And that would be my way of working that actually. So I love the fact to have two different effects. The effects on the OB6 are absolutely amazing, I would say. That's why I just like to keep them in my pocket and play them later out. Play them out later. Okay, so filters down. And what it is that I'm always trying to just like accomplish is get some melody going first. If I'm going to make a tune out of this, because looking at my patterns, I've only got like this one pattern here, right? I've got multiple patterns, but I didn't copy everything out yet. I would make this into a tune and then I will just like stick on this first chord. Maybe this one. Bam, 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 bam. But for later on in the track, when you want to make a bit of a more melodic kind of drop, this is where you would then copy this pattern over that you're hearing right now. But just to make the tune and get into the vibe, the first thing that I'll do is I'll start immediately with what I think is going to just like be the track later on in the process, right? Okay, if that makes any sense. So this now needs to sit well within the beat, because when I get to the bass line, oh, he said bass line, yeah. When I get to playing the bass line, obviously what you would like is this not to eat up all the sound already, right? So you need this to sit in a certain space within the frequency spectrum, but not where it overlaps the low end and the high end, so there's no room for anything else. Now this is a big bot lady right here. So if you are going to use the OB6, you need to keep in mind that it could eat up a lot of your space. So I would start with low notes, not so much with the filters, because obviously you can take out a lot of the low end just by using a little bit of reso on the sound and just tweaking it there. Short notes, because if you're making dance music, it's great to go in percussively, right? Okay, so listen to this. So. And I've played longer notes and shorter notes. That just accidentally happened, but I can solve that with masking it in the delay and also with the release. So this is my melody, right? Listen how this works with that sample that I have. 1, 2, 3, and. Now, why do I want a contrast between the sample that does something really weird and just played keys? This is my music education, music school, play the chords, know the chords vibe. And this is the house music, head in the speaker, shit, I need to go home, I'm still here kind of vibe. Those two things need to play together, right? So I will go in. It's always on track 5. I know that. Effects number 1, it's my first effect. And this thing can do multiple things. Opening it up. Listen to that sort of like blanket of a pad that's in. There's something in the background that smears a blanket in the sound. That's why I love the LFO kind of vibe that the filter is doing. So now it's there and it's not there. Yeah. So it's forcing, and it's otherworldly. It's not something that is very stuck to a grid or something, so it does something weird. So it always picks your attention. And with this, yeah, so I'll set myself up now to just do something bassline kind of like. Let's see if we go to the Typhon, which is on my track 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, starting with 9. This is 1. So obviously, and then track 10 is also the OB6 with an extra theme, which makes sense later. 11 is my long bass line. This is going to play later. And track 12, or in this case track 4, is my Let's see if we can find a sound that works. I'm just gonna blatantly go in and find, yeah, a preset. Liking that. Ah, there you go. Something simple, yeah? Or let's find something. Yep, go in for a little bit of an FM bass kind of vibe. Okay, now when I'm just going to play the drums later on. What you need to understand at first is that there's two ways of looking at bass lines. You've got the bass lines that play on the beat. You got bass lines that play after the beat. If I'm playing a bass line on the beat, it does something like this. One, 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 one. But the groove is not always on the kick drum because the kick drum's already there, right? So what I would suggest is play something after the beat. So the same bass line go. You know what I mean? So it does something different. Or you can get a call and response type of bass line, which means that the first one is on the first of the measure and the second one in a 4-beat bar is on the second half of the measure. So explaining that would be, you play something like this. So the first one is the question or the call, and then the second part is a response. Listen to what happens if I'm going to play that with different notes. But I'm always looking at my bass line as part of something that works as a drum. So I'm looking at a percussive element in my music. If I'm playing a bass line, I'm thinking what would work, because the frequency of the bass, in this case, put a little bit of envelope on there. Yeah, I'm liking this synth, man. Okay, there's a bit of flanger on there. I'm not going to get into the effects. This is more that 80s kind of flow, right? Say. Nice. So you can do a lot of stuff with that as well. Now, what I would do is, let's see if I can record something like this. See if I can record something like this. Am I here? Yes, I'm here. Here we go. Well, let's see, because I think I might be on a different measure here. Let's see. Get out of there. Get out of there. Get in here. Yep, get in here. Go. Clear all those trigs. Clear MIDI tricks. Go in. See, the whole thing is not on the same measure. Okay, wait a minute. So, okay, now I've got my, yep, and get out of there. 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3. That's what we want. Yeah, we're recording. Let's do the same thing again. See. I recorded that. I think it's on 5, so that's 13. Let's get it out of there. Let's go. Come on, what's not to like here, right? Open hat, like so. longer notes. All the drums in. Ah, come on, man. See? Pretty much the same theme, and it works. Bum, 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 bum. I'm liking that. I'm liking it. So you see, this is an approach to get like a bass line that's on the, yeah, it plays a theme, but at the same time, it's an accompanying bass line. From the minute I started to play the OB6 with it, it does the trick, right? Now, to think on, this is more of an old school approach, as I told you. You have to work that out for yourself, how it works with the shorter notes, but this is a short and percussive kind of vibe. See what I mean? Very short, very plucky. I cannot hate on this machine, but then again, I've only had it for a minute, so it sounds absolutely amazing. Only thing you need is some pads, maybe. All right, now a different approach when you got this playing. Now the trick with the bass lines is, if I would start with this would be my first introduction to the music. If my track would have started like this, yeah, party people, blah, blah, blah. You got some one-shots playing maybe from another device. That's something that I'm working out still. So your crashes, your impact, all that kind of good stuff. Then all of a sudden you make a drop, and that drop would be this. Here we go. Classic Dollars kind of breakdown where you introduce your music. The rest goes in like so. Bum, cha, yeah, so the beat's going, right? And this is when that sample starts to glue everything together, as I told you. So, kick out, 1, 2, 3, listen. Something in the same chord, something that's all over the place. You see what I mean with it's otherworldly? If I was to go to track 5 now and open up the filter, you see how the bass line's got one line and then that sample's got one line, and the two of them are in your face, but not working together so much. Listen. All of a sudden, I don't think that my bass line is that interesting. It's cool, but now it does the... Because of this percussive sort of like à la voix, the bass line starts to become a little bit more percussive as well. A little bit of resolve. I still need to find the sweet spot on this machine, but yeah, I'm liking that. Nice, okay. Let's not get carried away. Now, if I'm going to introduce my music, because this goes straight and it's not playing any funny notes, this can be embedded within this. You can follow the Typhon, but at the same time you will follow the new direction that the OB6 is going to take you into. Drums out, plays everything, 1, 2, 3, Oh, okay, so now we got the track going, right? This bass line's doing its thing. But if you want to make a bigger drop, then obviously you need a different synthesizer. So I'll take my drums out, I'll filter this down, or even take out the volume. Or I will lower the volume a little bit. I don't have to kill it completely, because then it starts to do what an arpeggio does in the music. It starts to become a catalyst and drive the music to a certain point, right? Okay, here you see a little bit of the bass line because you know what it's playing, because I just played it to you. take some envelope generation off so the notes will be smoothed out instead of a lot of blockiness. Now I will turn on the subsequent. This is a completely different bass line altogether. This is a lead, but it's a bass lead as well. Listen to this. It's on my track 12. I think I need to turn it on a little bit. Do you hear how this Typhon has changed from a bass note to a tom? Let's shorten this. The OB6. And this is your music part. So if you take out this music part, all of a sudden you go back into do the whole Stefan Botsen dramatics with the sound if you would like to. And then listen, if you take this down. So because this secondary theme plays on the same measure as this bass line, you got two things working together now. And in the meantime, that sample is still helping you glue everything together. Right, so now it's just opening up filters. Drums back in. Here we go. Now this trick will always work. I mean, this is a simple explanation of how I think things can work out well. So in short, you got your drums. Those drums need to work, right? Don't make them too complicated, because back in the days you only had a 606 or an 808 or a 909 if you're lucky enough. But that meant that was the sound. That's what your sound. And that means that, okay, you work with that sound, you just make it work. So that's the drums for you. Then the music comes from one part. I have the musicality, say the chord structure, the chord progressions embedded within this sound. It's always going to be this OB6. Nice one. Then I've got my leads playing something else. Mind you, this thing is still playing, right? So I'm going to take this bad boy out and stick it back to a moderate volume. Listen to this now. So it pays to have a bass line that does the bass line thing, but at the same time does a percussive element in there as well. Very important. Now, this is a simple way of looking at stuff, but at the same time, try it out. You'll see how it's going to work wonders for your music. It's always helped me. And then you want to go back to simple stuff, you go like. But I'll never turn off that catalyst, right? That sample and hold catalyst, I will never turn it off. And now, to do that same thing again, I can now think to go like, you know what? Focus myself on taking out certain drums, and now I'm going to open up the filter. One thing I didn't do, what I always do, is I've got reverb on my master. My track 8 is my master, obviously. And most synths that go through here are going to be affected by it. Just because I couldn't accommodate all the inputs. The Typhon is coming from its own separate channel on my small mixer over here. That, mind you, is only here just because I didn't have anything better and it was lying about. And it's got its own effect. So get your drums back in. Party time. Instant party time gratification. We're not going home anytime soon. That's the kind of vibe I would love, right? Now, for this to work as well, you have to consider how you're going to go about with your effects. You know, I mean, it doesn't really work that well if all the sounds are dry. So I love the fact that a TB03 comes with onboard effects. Are they the best? No, but they do the trick. And because you're layering and sticking sounds all over each other, if this is a catalyst that doesn't need to be an a priority kind of vibe, it's just like if I'm going to stick this on the beat, I just did so say that I was not going to use the TB3, did I? I did. Okay, so if we got this, I'm going to turn you off as well, yeah? And then I've got this, 3 and. It's not synced up, so I've got to do the old school DJ trick and keep it sync. So this is not going to be my a priority kind of vibe, right? Something like this. Very annoying. This is on 128.4 and this is on 128, so I'm going to have to tweak it all the time. Anyway, so but you can imagine that thing, that effect can be embedded alongside a more fancy effect like the blue sky or night sky if you've got a different pedal. And I'm just going in thinking the more fancy sort of like lead sounds, like for instance my subsequent obviously need a dedicated effect. Other than that, the onboard effects, namely the delay and the dark verb on the Octatrack, are absolutely amazing, and the effects on the OB6 are also very yummy. So you have to see what works together. Don't wash out all the sounds, because I see a lot of people just like throw in a lot of reverb and throw in a lot of delay and think like, ah, nice. But you know what? It's like standing in the bathroom with the shower way too hot, so it's just gonna fog everything up and nothing becomes very clear. If there's anything you would like to see, then say. So you need to keep in mind that the things that you want to do, what you need closer needs to be not as drowned as much in reverb. So reverb is horizontal panning almost, right? It's like the more reverb, the deeper it will get, it will go into your music, which is cool. So if I want my TB03 to go to the background, I'll put more feedback on there, because with this way of working, you don't necessarily always mix it like you would mix a track on a DAW, right? You need to just go in and think, you know what, this is how we're going to actually metabolize that thing. Now, what I'm going to do here is make sure that you guys enjoy it, and the other guy is going to tell you all about Patreon, Discord, and all that good stuff. All right. Yeah, so what do you think, man? I mean, this is pretty much my idea of getting bass lines going. I mean, if you want to know more, I will tell you there's something that I have been working on. So go to analogcourses.com. I've actually created some DAW-less courses as well as DAW courses as well. So it's going to be a learning platform where you can enroll right now. I'm still developing the course as we speak, and the thing is, most of the questions and most of the topics that I am addressing is stuff that we get to discuss in our community. Talking about community, channel memberships, like I'm looking at my list right here: Paul Op den Brouw, Tough Chunks, Leave Me at Home, Slim Pickens, Ed, Spazoo, and Mikey44V. Those are the cats that have like enrolled already on my channel. That's channel memberships as well as Discord and as well as Patreon. With Patreon, you get a support sort of like blanket where you can ask me questions. You can get a little bit closer than if you would if you just like leave a comment in the section below. And I will try to address that kind of stuff. But the Patreon connection has got like this nice bridge over into Discord. And the Discord is where the magic happens. That's where we congregate mostly every Friday night after this video premiere, where everybody in the chat, thanks for joining anyway. But the people that are actually going to be like hopping over in say 10 minutes from now, if you are watching the premiere, if you're watching this at a later date, it's already gone. But you know what I mean. So we'll talk about different things. How do you travel from A to B? What gear do you use? How to treat gas? What to assemble? And I thought, like, you know, let's take it a step further and let's just go into the workings of a smaller setup. If you are interested in getting into the dollars realm, how much money would you like to spend? If you're like me, you spend shitloads of money and you end up not using half of it. So I can understand that if you're interested in getting a dollars kit going, it might be cool to just know, like, okay, get this piece of kit, get that piece of kit, and just work with it, and then just like expand. That's most of the stuff we're talking about. And the channel memberships also include you getting to ask me a question. Just film yourself and throw me that video. I'll stick it on my vids, and I'll see if I can answer the question. Right? I mean, not saying that I'm the be all and end all of dollars music production, but been doing it a while. I think that I can get you some questions. If not me, I know people that can. So that's the cool thing. And the community is really, really cool. Like-minded folks, we're all talking about synth stuff. And yeah, you know what I mean? Let's go get it. Now, the music you can find on Bandcamp, if that is something you're interested in. The tune that you heard over the top and over the end, probably what I'm talking over now, you can find that on Bandcamp as well. Now, I am also talking about the mixer project that I'm working on. I'm working together with one of my cats on Discord. We're trying to make this dollars mixer. We have this output transformer that we are looking at, or listening to actually, and trying to figure out how we can actually get saturation points and stuff. You know, it's really cool. It's a cool process. It's early days still because with COVID and the shortage in chips and everything, it pretty much like slowed the process down a whole lot. But we're actually picking it up again. As well as, this is something else, I'm making music with you. This is something that I put on my highest Patreon tier. If you would like to make some music and we can throw some stuff out on vinyl, we're talking about labels. We're talking with labels at the moment. It's cool. So I am actually going to finalize my track with Compass. It's one of my patrons. We're actually making some music together. It's really cool, and we're going to stick it on vinyl as well. Vinyl release. That's cool, because I do think that I've made so many records in my career already, but it's cool to just make music with you. And the shortest way to do that is through my Patreon page. You won't be breaking the bank, mind you. Okay, that's enough of me talking about that kind of stuff. And I hope that you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about it, and if not anything else, I'll catch you next week. You know where. On another video. Analog Kitchen out. Now, when it comes to synth bass lines, a lot of classic records will come to mind. You know, I mean, one of the most famous synth